connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is grieving. You know, it's so funny. I can hold myself together and then I get here and all of a sudden the tears are welling up. But anyway, we're getting to talk about grieving and how it's such an erratic process. You know, it's not linear and can be crazy making because of all the fluctuations of emotion. But we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's, excuse Sorry, I'm on the tail end of COVID here. All right, so let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any negativity, stress, tension, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out and illuminating, electrifying, energizing all your cells, all your electrons, all your molecules, and making you glow this brilliant light out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining stress, tension, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together. And very, very softly, 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 rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that sensation, the tickling, the tingling, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now, into these magnificent physical bodies that allow us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Jenny, and good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you guys here with us and everybody else who's joining us. I so appreciate you being here. And thank you, Jenny. So you guys know that Maggie died the other day. And she's been such an amazingly integral part of my life that I am mourning very deeply. And it's bizarre to look at this grieving process because there are moments like I saw clients yesterday on Zoom and I was mostly able to hold it together and actually be able to focus on somebody else rather than myself. And that was really empowering for me to be able to contribute to somebody else. So Jenny, thank you for asking. I'm ricocheting through all kinds of emotions. So there are moments when I feel fine and there are moments when I'm just bereft. And I think that this is a common experience when we're grieving, you know, that we don't have the capacity to stay in the intensity of the grief constantly. We can't hold that intensity. And what happens is, you know, we shift our focus and it's almost like we're able to encapsulate, you know, different expressions and move into a space of less pain or maybe insulation or different focus, you know, like when we can shift our focus, then the pain gives us we get some relief, right? Jenny says, I want to give you a big hug and comfort you. Thank you, Jenny. You know, it's funny when I've had such beautiful outpourings of love and support. And that's when the emotion arises again, right? I so appreciate the love, and it presences me again to the loss. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm processing through it. I hope you'll forgive me that I'm healing from COVID here. Pat says, last night my daughter prayed with my grandson Tom. He so wanted to pray for Maggie. I hope you don't mind. Pat, I'm so grateful for Tom. You know, I know that Maggie said he wanted ice cream, that he could get ice cream. And that's so beautiful. So I really appreciate all the prayers, all the prayers. Good morning, Tammy. Thank you so much for hugs and love. So I really hadn't intended to come on and cry again today, but it is what it is, right? But I'm also observing this grieving process, and you know, when there's a loss, it creates a vacuum. It creates a vacuum, and it, like, reality shifts, right? When we have someone, or I'm going to call Maggie someone, who is so much a part of our lives, and that when they're gone, it's deeply disruptive, right? On so many levels, on just routines. You know, like Maggie used to have a shower with me every morning. She didn't shower, but she'd come into the shower and she'd drink the shower water. And every morning I'd lift the covers and I'd say, "Good morning, Maggie," and she'd walk up out from under the covers, and that's how we'd start the day. I do have to say that my cat is really a whole lot happier because Maggie tortured her. So my cat is chilling, and her name is Jewel, and she's been very sweet. She's like the world's sweetest, kindest soul. And Maggie just abused her horribly, bullied her horribly. So I think I said thank you, Tammy. And Rosalind says, "Dear Mira, holding space for you and sweet Maggie. I put your name in the prayer circle during today's morning cuppa group." Thank you so much, Rosalind. I really appreciate that. And Jenny says, "It's what you need, and we're here for you, friend." Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. I so appreciate it. And I'm guessing that I'm not the, I know that so many people love Maggie, and she was a celebrity, right? How many birds get to be a celebrity, right? And she was so well loved by so many. So Tammy says, "We're here for you. Cry away if needed. My virtual shoulder's there for you. We loved we loved you, silly but sweet Maggie." And Jenny says, "I felt the same when my puppy got hit by a car." Oh my God, Jenny, I'm so sorry. You know, isn't it wild that our connection to our feathered and furry friends is often so much deeper than with humans, right? Because there's an mitigated love. There's just this deep, profound connection. And when that's gone, it's like, oh my gosh, they just disappeared, right, Jenny? It's like, and there's a tendency to want to blame oneself and second guess. And Rosalind says, awareness is like the sun. When it shines on things, they are transformed. Thank you for sharing your experience with grief. Thank you, Rosalind, because I know I'm not the only one grieving. I mean, not just for Maggie, but we all have experienced grief. And I think the way to be grieving in a healthy way is to allow oneself to feel the feelings when we feel them, and to not have to feel like feel the necessity to invoke those feelings when they're not there. That it's not a linear process, it's erratic. And we, as I said, can't sustain that intensity all the time. So we have these mechanisms that allow us to have these different containers that we can shift our focus from one place to another. And it's fascinating. Jenny says, yes, I'm very attached to my current dog, Gus. He's my baby. That's awesome, Jenny. The feathered and furry people are the best people on the planet in my book. And yeah, I know, like, I felt really angry at Maggie for doing what she did, was flailing about in her cage and killing herself. It's like, what? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And I miss her. I never realized that it was possible to have greater intimacy with a bird than with cats or dogs, for instance. And the reason for that is that, like, Maggie was constant with me. She was on me or around me all the time. And like in the bathroom, in the shower, in bed, in the office, during the sessions that I would do, anywhere I'd go, as I would leave one room to go to another, she'd fly on me and be on my shoulder. So she was with me all the time. And I've never had that constant a presence in my life, actually. I'm realizing that now. So it's wild. It's very disorienting to have that constancy disappear. It's like, well, where'd it go? So, hi, Grace Isis. I'm so glad you're here. Grace Isis says, world of love to you, our darling Mira. Thank you for being a great guardian for Maggie. You gave her a perch so she could pass on her light out to the world. She did, didn't she? She was a feisty little person. Good morning, Bernadette. So glad to have you here. Good morning, Elaine. It's great to have you here. Elaine says, blessings to all of you in your time of transitioning and transforming. Love you all. Thank you, Elaine. Jenny says, my daughter is still alive, but she will not talk to me. I've been grieving my grandson and my daughter, not knowing what I did or how to fix it. It sucks. I miss them, and the sunshine they brought to my heart. Have not seen them since last Christmas. Still devastated. Gus kept me going. Jenny, I'm so sorry for that loss. And the dynamics between people can get so toxic and so painful. And I'm so sorry for that situation particularly because it makes no sense to you, right? I understand that, and thank God for Gus, right? These feathered and furry people are the best. They're the best. Dennis says, we are heartbroken of the loss of our Maggie. Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, me too. Me too. Grace Isis says, thank you for sharing with us your valleys of absence. We will help you with love and prayers on your journey to the mountaintop. Thank you. Thank you, Grace Isis. So, as I said, I have COVID, and I think I'm getting better. I started having symptoms on Friday, and so now it's Tuesday. I had yesterday at one point I had 102 fever, and I think the last time I checked it was just a little over 100. So that's pretty awesome. But that said, I've been trying to figure out what to do with Maggie, with her body. And I'm not ready to go outside and bury her yet. And anyway, so Rosalind says, we try to find meaning, like asking self what happens afterwards. That's so true. I'm looking at the 6 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, and meaning. Maybe all these stages are felt in an erratic pattern, and to your point, is not linear. I think that's true. I think that's true. And it's so fresh and so raw that I don't know where I am. I feel like a yo-yo, or ricocheting back and forth. So Jenny said, didn't you get the vaccine? I have a whole lot of health stuff already, Jenny, so I have been studying up on the ramifications for me around the vaccine, and have been preparing myself for to have natural immunity. And so I'm really glad that I have COVID now, so that I can have natural immunity. And I'm getting professional guidance in how to address it, and I'm very confident that I'm going to be fine. And I've been getting well pretty quickly. So that's, I think that we each need to make our informed choices and our socially conscious choices as well. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not a pro-vaxxer. I guess where I am is that we need to be informed and make appropriate decisions for our best health and not jeopardize others. So Jenny says, keep her in the freezer. I didn't, Lisa, good morning, good morning. I guess you haven't heard, Lisa, Maggie died. Yeah. So Jenny says, keep her in the freezer. Bernadette says, please don't allow your time of sorrow to forget that you always matter. Thank you so much. Lisa says, oh my God, Mira, I'm so very sorry. Sending you much light and love. Thank you. She was biting my feet. And I just needed to sleep because, I was recovering from COVID. And she was biting my feet really hard. So finally I put her in her cage and I covered the cage, and she started flailing about in the cage, and I figured she would stop, and I think she broke her neck. So she just flailed about until she died. So thank you, Jenny. So grieving, it's a redefinition of ourselves, right? Because the connections that we have to other beings become a part of who we are, and become part of how we know ourselves, right? So when that being that we're so close to dies or is no longer there, just disappears, then that requires us to reevaluate or recalibrate who we are, right? Like, sorry about that. So Maggie was very much a part of me. And so now that part is gone. And all the habits, all the routines, all the things that we did together, it was just um just so much a part of every minute of every day for me. And she was such a character. Oh my gosh. As I move through this, maybe we'll have another day to share Maggie stories. But so Grace Isis says, perhaps wrapping Maggie in a special blanket, keep her comfortable, and in a food Tupperware, glass or plastic, and then with a flower petal and prayer, keep her in the freezer until you're ready. Our love. Thank you, Grace Isis. Rosalind says there's no need to make an appropriate response. Allow self to be in upset without judgment. Thank you for that, Rosalind. That was something actually I wanted to say about grieving, is that we tend to judge ourselves, like, why am I not sad right now? Or why can't I get past this? Or, all these kinds of judgments about where we are, rather than just allowing ourselves to be without resisting the whipsaw emotions that arise. So Lisa says she knew you were sick and wanted to be with you. She loved you so much. She's still with you. Thank you, Lisa. Bernadette says it's totally unconditional love, and I'm sure it hurts to the core. Yeah, it does. And Robin says, I'm so sorry. Blessings for comfort and healing. I love you. Thank you, Robin. Thank you so much. And Grace Isis says, let us share, and share Maggie. Yes, because she was a force of nature. She was a character and a half. She really was. She was such a personality. Jenny says, absolutely. I'm so lost and depressed without my family. I feel empty and no meaning or sense of purpose. It's just one day at a time. I still sob and learning to comfort myself. Jenny, I'm so sorry. I'm wondering if maybe you can seek out some support from a person, maybe a professional person who can help you move through that grief, so that you don't have to be all alone in it. you know, I hear how devastated you are, and I'm so, so sorry for the pain you're experiencing. And Jenny says, yes, she's still with you and will be waiting for you. I hope she has a long time to wait, Jenny. I do. Anyway, I just want to say thank you all for being here, for your support, for your love, for your appreciation of Maggie. And it means so much to be able to just be real here. Jenny, I'm in the Philadelphia area. Grace Isis says, what a gift. Let us accompany you in this stage of your life and not be alone. Reach out to us if you feel the need. We're here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think I'm going to call it a morning. So again, I have so much gratitude and appreciation for you. Bernadette says, if you're feeling any type of guilt that tends to slip into thought, please let it go. You require self-care also. Lisa says, now it's time for you to take care of you. Jenny's in Colorado. And Grace Isis is in the New York area. Well, we're all over. How amazing is that? That's beautiful. And I so appreciate you guys. All right, well, Jenny says, I'll be sending you lots of love and light today. And I'll send the same to you, Jenny. Rosalind says, when we say, I'm so sorry, do people receive that as I'm sharing the sadness with you? I'm weeping for the loss of Maggie and wishing you full recovery back to health. Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you. Tammy says, I loved how she would get chirping loudly over you at times to be heard on her time. Remember her funny times where she made us laugh? Yes, and how about when she'd hang off the front of my hat and bite my nose and put her foot in my ear? And she is just a crazy, crazy little person. Skip, hop, and jump from you, sweet angel. Thank you, Grace Isis. All right. That's it for today. I love you so much. I'm so grateful to you. This is the Core Connection, and I'm Mira Rubin, and I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, and I'm so grateful to you. Thank you. Thank you, Rosalind, and thank you, Dennis. Thank you all. And until next time, so much love to you.